your guitar.
Hello, this month's hot mod is my attempt to bring a touch of Les Paul to a Strat, because I happen to love both those guitars, but that doesn't mean I can always justify owning them both at the same time, or even if I'm lucky enough to have them both, to take them both to a gig and keep swapping guitars. So I've tried to get a bit of the Les Paul vibe visually and also tonally into this guitar. See what you think. Well, it's somewhere close, I think, and that's just the middle pickup and a little bit of tone control. Swap into something a bit more AC30 like, i.e. the setting on here marked AC30. You can get some rather wirier tones. That's the treble and mid pickup. Good for the sort of, oh, and the treble pickup's good for that. Kind of Wilco sound, amongst other things. Let's try a bit more, let's try something a bit heavier, shall we? That's got sort of less of the fizziness you'd expect from the Strats. I think it's a slightly more versatile instrument. That last bit is for the bloke that said my way of shimming next takes the sustain away. Oh yeah. Enjoy. Okay, recipe for strattiness. Take one body, freshly refinished, and one rather nice Warmouth neck, which has been on another guitar, so I'm not sure yet whether the neck and the body holes will line up precisely. But let's hope that they will. Otherwise I'm going to have to do some plugging and drilling. Before I put the screws in, let's just see if the holes seem to line up. Okay, well that one seems to be located fine. Let's try the one diametrically opposed. Again, that seems to be going in fair enough. Okay. Before we start drilling the holes for the bridge vibrato assembly, it's important that we establish exactly where those holes should be. Fortunately, doing that isn't as difficult as it might sound if you've thought the process through or somebody showed you how to do it. So the first thing is we want it to be in line with the neck, so that the strings don't hang off one side or the other. So I'm going to use my straight edge and I'm going to make a little mark which will end up under the bridge plate on the bass side, and then I'm going to make another little mark which will also be under the bridge plate and never be seen for the treble side. So providing I work out my hole positions between those two marks evenly, you know, symmetrically, then the holes will be in the right place and the bridge plate will be in the right place. The other thing is knowing where the holes should go in terms of forward or backwards, because there is a certain amount of give within the slot that accommodates the vibrato unit, but you've got the intonation to think about, you know, how in tune the guitar is going to be in terms of are the saddles able to move far enough backwards or forwards, but also if you move the whole plate too far back, you'll find that when you want to use the vibrato, it's going to hit, the metal block is going to hit the back of the slot cut through the body. So fortunately I know an answer to this which is purely mathematical, in as much as the holes want to be or should be about 7 3/8 of an inch from the 21st fret. Let me tell you the basis of my calculations. I'm afraid I'm going to use millimetres for this because it's just so much easier to work it out. The two marks I got from the neck for the side-to-side alignment are as near as damn it 60 millimetres apart. So that's our first measurement, 60 millimetres. Then the holes, the two outside holes in the bridge assembly are as near as damn it 53 millimetres apart. So we say 60 millimetres minus 53 millimetres means that there are 7 millimetres less distance between the two marks that I've marked for the neck alignment than the distance across the two outer screws. So in other words, if I mark my two outer screw points in by 3.5 millimetres aside, then they will be relatively centred and in the correct place. The squarer you can keep the drill to the body the better, for obvious reasons. Also, although there's no chance of me going through the body, I've put a slight stop on the drill just using a bit of masking tape, so it doesn't go any deeper than it has to. So here goes. Now here's the bridge assembly. If I screw in that first position, then really that's the end of any mathematics and working out, because the other holes can really be drilled through the plate, which can be used as a template. I don't need to screw this all the way in, it's just necessary that it's held firm. So I'm pretty confident I've marked the correct position for the other outer screw, which is the low E string position. So I'll drill that one next. I now have, you know, a whole guitar. The first thing though, now I've got the neck really solidly attached to the body, first thing I can see is that it's probably just a little too shallow an angle. So I know what fantastic action this compound radius neck is capable of, so I'm not going to assume that the strings are going to be a long way off the neck, because they just ain't. And I would say, with the saddles adjusted to a sensible height, by the time I've got a little bit of float on the vibrato block, the neck is actually too far that way, so it needs a little bit of shim behind it to tilt it back, and it's best that I address that now. What I need now is a shim, and that's what I'm going to make next. I've done this on video a few times before, but I'll walk you through the basics of it. Firstly, I take my neck and a piece of lined paper, that is to say ruled paper, draw around the end of the neck. Then I get a pair of scissors and cut the heel shape approximately to size. It hasn't got to be an absolute masterpiece, but it helps if it's something like the shape of the end of the neck, and therefore the pocket that the shim is going into. Okay. So I'm going to cut off any surplus, so I'm left with basically, if you like, a tongue of paper. Let me show that in the context of the pocket of the guitar body. There you go. It's not coming right to the end, but you see it's. I'm going to trim a little bit off the end there, just off that side, so it doesn't stick out. But other than that, that's fairly tidy, and that's going to form like a little slipper. Okay, if I just trim that bit off the side, it'll just mean that there's no piece of paper sticking out one side of the neck joint, which should look a little unsightly. That's more like it. Okay, next trick, 2-inch masking tape. Now, because the paper's lined, I can actually use that to line up the successive layers of masking tape. I'm only putting each alternate line because I'm not convinced at this stage that I need all that much shim. Okay, because I'm doing this on like a marble tile. I can pull that off in one go, trim round the edge. In fact, it's easier to turn it upside down, isn't it, and trim it to the paper. I'm going to take a bit off the neck pocket side of this plate as well, rather than take it all off the bridge plate side, because otherwise it's rather going to, well, slightly, it's going to skew the relative position of the pickups, isn't it? You see what I'm saying? Because if I keep taking it off the bridge plate end, the treble pickup will get nearer and nearer to the bridge. I mean, we're 2.5 mil here, but I might as well get it right. Well, I'm pleased to say we now have a fit. No, don't have a fit. What I mean is the scratch plate fits. Very nicely, if I may say so. In case you wonder what the black stuff is, it's conductive paint, which I've used for shielding rather than foil or copper sheet. I thought I'd just try it this way, and it went on very quickly, and provided it works, I think it's quite a good way to go. I tend to find it easier to assemble these plates upside down, i.e. with the components at the top and the bolts and screws going in from underneath, because that way you can see better when they're lining up into the holes in the plates and things. I've attached one earth wire here to the cavity. I've screwed that in. This is the earth wire from the spring claw, and I'm going to solder that somewhere onto the casings of the pots. Doesn't matter exactly where. I think convenience wise might as well go on this tone pot at the end here. Somewhere on my to-do list should have been drill holes for jack socket, of course. Always something of a tense moment, because this is where we discover whether this thing actually works or not. Okay. Alright, all good. I'll put the scratch plate screws in. I've put a couple in already, but I'll put in the rest. And all we've got to do is put the neck back on, string it up, we got ourselves a guitar. One string up and thorough setup later, and I can confirm this guitar plays like an absolute beaut.